coming back and then talking through that, and we'll talk about some techniques of how you talk through that, is what is an appropriate way to give the silent treatment. Some people do need to have that long of a break. You know what? I'm not going to talk to you for a day, but it's for the function of me calming down and then coming back and having a healthy conversation so that we can reconnect with each other and avoid these types of fights in the future. So it all comes down to function.
Hey, Joe in Williamsburg, thank you so much for that call. That is a great conversation to have, too, about that. How do you, when you get yourself into a situation where you're frustrated or you feel hurt, how are you reacting to that? And sometimes we stonewall and we don't even realize it. Let's go back to the phones. We have Chris in Indian River. Chris is on the air with Joe Stanek from Mental Wellness Counseling.
Hello?
Hey, Chris, you're on.
Oh, okay. I was just going to say, that might work, you know, the scheduling, who does dishes, or I've been married for 17 years. My grandma thought I would never get married.
But dishes are just a metaphor. Yeah, dishes are the metaphor.
But well, I mean, it just, like, sometimes she cooks dinner, sometimes I cook dinner. Usually we try to do whoever cooks dinner the other does the dishes, but sometimes she does both, or I do both, and kids do dishes, and then one of us has to redo them. But, you know, it just, we don't really go by any set.
Yeah, and that works for you, though, Chris in Indian River. And Joe, I mean, that works for Chris because they probably communicated that in some form within the last 17 years, right?
Yeah,
well, yeah, I mean, it's, I don't know, it's just, I mean, we just go, you know,
right.
Just go with the day. That's it. We don't really have anything, I'm gonna, you know, you're gonna do this, and neither one of us really like specific things, schedules, things like that. So it just works for us. I think everybody's different.
Well, yeah, and Chris, I'm going to hang up and let Joe answer while you're off the air. Thank you. What do you say to that, Joe?
Yeah, it sounds like Chris and his partner have really, they have communicated. He may not say that, they just go with the flow. But imagine if one of them was always cooking and always doing the dishes and always in charge of getting the kids to help with the dishes. I imagine one of them would start to build some criticism, contempt, defensiveness. But they figured out what works, and that's the important part of it. Really talking through what is it that's frustrating for me right now, and that kind of leads into how do we build intimacy over time. And so turning towards each other on an ongoing basis is really important. And so if someone mentions, you know, I'm kind of stressed about the dishes, asking questions like, well, tell me more. Like, why are you stressed about it? That validates that you're listening. It shows that you want to be a problem solver together. And over time, if you do that several times a week, you know, over a year, think of how many kind of things you have going into it, maybe a love bank. Those are all deposits that help you have that relationship be stronger. And then when you do have that fight, it's a lot easier to move through it quicker.
Yeah, very, very true. Joe, we have another call coming in right now. It's Jody in Traverse City. Hi, Jody. You're on the air.
Hi, Desmond. Right now, I don't need any help. I have one full-time helper, someone who's becoming more full-time, sort of, watching my gallery. But production-wise, I'm all set. I think right now, I've upped my production from last year, so I'm incrementally increasing things when the funds are available. But thanks for your offer. Just you know, I'll remember that, and feel free to mention it again, or you know, if I get in a bind or need a situation changes, I'll let you know. Originally I did make my own frames. The size and the design was all my idea originally, and I started making these frames about 13 years ago. And then it just became too much time to make them myself. And when you sell your tiles, people want frames. So I had to have someone else do them. So I had the local lumber company make the frames now. Northern Lumber puts the frames together, and as you can see, I sand them and varnish them. And this is actually a water-based spar marine protective coat. You can call it a varnish if you want. It's not. It doesn't have all the chemicals in it. It's a water-based, so I can just wash this brush off in water. when I'm done.
The person has to repeat back.
So I can take these to art fairs, and if it gets a little bit of sprinkling out, it won't damage the frame at all. And then, you know, you can put these in your bathrooms or on your porch, hang them there, and the moisture shouldn't really affect them. You know, over time they'll probably have a nice look to them after a while. You know, being out exposed to the weather.
How can I phrase it in a way that you receive and accept, knowing your reality that you just explained to me, and that becomes a much more productive conversation than just the back and forth we often do.
You know, this is all, I mean, just really, really good points that everyone can practice in their relationships, in their marriages. Because as far as this month is concerned, as you pointed out, January is one of those months where people just seem to be breaking up a little easier. And so there's a couple of reasons why we've already gone over that, why that happens. But also just how to ruin those relationships. If you're doing any of those things, you might need to call Joe and talk a little bit more about this and say, you know, I don't want to be in a situation next January where we've let it get to a point where we've ruined things. And you can start building that connection. Stress-reducing conversations like you've talked about. And can you talk a little bit more about subjective reality that you were just mentioning?
Yeah, so the subjective reality conversation is where you're really going to dive into kind of being a narrator and walking through what just happened, and then the other person repeats it back. The stress-reducing conversation, we didn't get into that yet, and that's a kind of daily oftentimes thing where you're talking about just the stress of your life outside of the relationship. So here's the things going on at work that I'm really frustrated about. Right. And then that person repeats that back to you, similar to that subjective reality discussion, except that really, when you're listening to your partner, you want to take their side. It's kind of you against the world so they feel validated. Even if you're like, you know what, I can see why your boss said that. You can be kind of a jerk sometimes. That's not really going to help.
Don't do that.
No. So I said to her, wow, like, that must have been really hurtful when he or she said that. What did you do that? To really just be that sounding board for that daily stress. Couples that do that on a regular basis, it doesn't have to be every day, but on somewhat of a regular basis, to talk through the stress of life, that builds that intimacy over time. So again, when you get into that fight, you gotta have that built-in connection and intimacy where you want to get out of that fight as quick as possible and get the problem solved.
And that's, yeah, and that's an issue too, because sometimes your partner doesn't want you to fix the problem, they just want you to listen, right?
Absolutely, that's probably one of the, and I think that, you know, not to be too stereotypical, but I do think that men tend to be fixers more times than not in conversations where they don't want to always talk about the emotions, but it's really important, no matter what gender you are, to not fix the problem. Because what that's saying is, I don't think you as a person are competent enough to solve this problem, so why did I give you some advice? Because I'm clearly smarter than you in this area. That doesn't really help. Instead of just being that sounding board and saying, wow, that's really tough, I'm sorry you're dealing with that.
You know, that is something I've been called the fixer before, and I'm trying to stay away from that because I just go, all right, done, let's move on. And that's not a good thing. So here's the situation, guys. I know we've had a number of you calling and wanting to know a little bit more about this research. It's Dr. John Gottman, and Joe Sanik is the owner of Mental Wellness Counseling. He's also one of the only therapists in northern Michigan that has been trained and completed the Gottman Level 1 couples training. So this is what he does. He helps couples, and he can help you if you're finding yourself in any of those situations where you are stonewalling. Maybe you're holding people in contempt. Maybe you're criticizing. Maybe you're feeling defensive oftentimes. It's time to get in and start to repair those things instead of waiting until you call it quits, you throw in the towel. Joe, how can people get in touch with you?
The best way to schedule is to just call us at 231-714-0282, or they can always email intake@mentalwellnesscounseling.com, and we'll get them scheduled.
All right, Joe, thank you so much. And, of course, we'll have to follow up on this. We've had a lot of calls about it, a lot of people we didn't get to as well. So we'll talk a little bit more about this in the coming weeks as we talk a little bit more about maybe your resolution could be to repair your relationship in 2017. Thanks again, Joe Sanik.
Thank you so much for having me.
We're going to take a quick break. It is WTC on News Talk 580.
When I walk to the
Yeah, Desmond, you get a cover photo like that when you make a factual statement on your Facebook page, and then you get pretty much bombarded by everyone who thinks differently than you, which I asked for it, I guess, but I really wanted to go to the inauguration. I went to the inauguration before. It's an amazing event. And this is the third snow day in 2 weeks, and we're only halfway through January. So when you're seeing several people, and I have lots of friends, so I'm going to get all different perspectives. But when you see all these several people, you know, making light of your thoughts on the whole matter, and like it or not, it's quite obvious, in my opinion, that schools close much easier. You know, when I was a kid, we always would joke about how Traverse City was always closing so much. You know, they have a massive school district. I mean, Suttons Bay has shrunk to half the size of what it used to be. And we have more snow days than what we used to be. And now, you know, we have technology now, cell phones, smartphones. We all see what the weather's going to be several hours in advance. There's no mystery. We all have the most advanced clothing, and everyone has their SUVs and everything, but it seems to not help anybody. And that's fine. I don't think everyone should be able to climb up a mountain in their SUV they buy. But, you know, we should at least talk about how it doesn't seem to help anything. And so when I get people, you know, acting like I don't have a valid point at all, I mean, it's a valid point. And when you see some of these comments, it just makes me want to go out and be funny and fall in my driveway and act like I'm slipping all over the ice and be trying to be funny and joking about it all. That's what I was doing. So that was just a funny moment. I'm glad you agree.
Misled police and the FBI after the June 12th attack in Orlando. She's from the San Francisco Bay Area and returned there with her son following the Orlando shooting. She has repeatedly been questioned by the FBI over whether she knew about Mateen's plans. Mateen pledged allegiance to ISIS in 911 calls during that attack. Lisa. Thanks, Tanya. The man charged with killing 5 people at the Fort Lauderdale airport has just been ordered.
What's really scary, what bothers me the most is when people attack your mental state. When they start saying about how we don't remember things the way they used to be. You know, there's a book out there written by somebody that's written about something. You can find a book written about anything. And people that pull out books and articles that they find thinking that it validates some point because someone actually wrote about it, it's like whoop-de-doo, you know. Someone in some desk in some city needed something to write about. So they write some story and then all of a sudden it's posted on my page like that's factual information. Like I can't remember the way things used to be. You know. And now my mental state becomes jeopardized. That's really but when I really get bothered. So, you know, I can state so many factual things about what I remember that there's no question that my mental state is very clear. I was also one of the people that actually would go out and do things in the snow and ice fishing. So I know what the extreme is. You know, I've seen people fall through ice on the ice and lakes. I've seen people drive through unbelievable snow-covered 2 tracks in the middle of winter. You know, I don't think people need to be like, you know, drive through a blizzard in order to go to school. It's just, you know, 3 snow days and it's not even January 20th yet. You know, I mean, it just seems a little much. I'm just wondering, you know, how much whining the parents are doing that's causing the school districts to close. So especially when you get new people moving here who aren't from the winter wet climate, and you wonder how much they start changing the mentality that's up here. And that's fine. I'm not telling everyone they need to buy SUVs, and it's just you know, it's disappointing because I can't go to the inauguration now because I have to get work done. And all these school days, like my employee can't come.
Talk 580. This update is brought to you by Williams Chevrolet. Williams Chevy has over 500 vehicles in stock. Visit WilliamsChevy.com. Chevrolet, find new roads. It's a big day for the Preserve Hickory.
You know, I don't take the weekends off. I work on the weekends. So that's what happens when you run a small business.
$20,000 check to the group that's trying to expand the recreation area and build a new lodge at Hickory Hills. The Hickory Hills Community Group.
So little trips like going to the inauguration was a little special. Was going to be a little special treat. So.
Hickory Hills Group will be on hand for the 3 p.m. check presentation.
Yeah.
The city of Boyne City is getting
Oh,
ready to make more.
Desmond, we had, when I was growing up, I think there was 1 year we had 2 snow days. We had a superintendent called Mr. McCracken, and he was always criticized for never closing school. We would have a few 1 or 2 hour delays growing up, going to Suttons Bay. This has nothing to do with my lack of memory, you know. And then you know, and then what's funny is it becomes a climate change issue. Because now people will start saying, oh, well, the climate's changing, so that's why we have this strange weather. Well, you know, there you go again. You know, the whole the climate's been politicized. So now now it's politicized. So in order for you to believe in climate change, you have to pretty much believe in the whole stance of one party. And that's not fair. That's not right, especially when the environment's involved. You know, it's too bad it's been politicized. So, you know, now even if we have, now this whole snow day issue even can become a whole climate change issue, because then people will start saying, oh, well, the climate's changing, that's why it's different than it was what it used to be. So there's nothing you can do about it. I guess I'm not going to the inauguration, and I'm going to work, and I'm fine with that.
Score of 1-0. Cloudy for the rest of today. Look for high temperature readings in the mid-30s. Clouds and fog tonight, lows near 30 degrees. I'm Joel Frank with your local news update.
Andy Wickard here at Williams Chevrolet, Northern Michigan's #1 volume Chevy dealer, where Zero Down delivers. Just in time for winter, lease the award-winning 2017 all-wheel drive Chevy Equinox with heated power seat, remote start, rear vision camera, sign and drive, just $189 a month. You heard correct, just $189 a month for the most popular all-wheel.
It's right. The new shop in Suttons Bay is right by the. It's 2 doors north of the old fire station. So if you're standing there where the old fire hall used to be, right downtown Suttons Bay in Front Street, and I'm 22, and you're looking north, walking up the sidewalk, it's two businesses up from the old fire hall. And I know some of you don't like Rush Limbaugh. You know, I need something to listen to when I work, and I've listened to NPR for years. It makes me fall asleep, so I've stopped listening to NPR. Periodically, I'll go back and listen to NPR. I have a political science major in college. I studied politics. I had to argue many different stances back and forth. I was going to be a lawyer. I had to do moot courts, which are basically pretend court trials, and we had to be able to argue 2 different sides of the story. So I can listen to Rush Limbaugh, and he won't offend me. I educate myself. I learn what the other side has. I learn what he thinks. You can take different things from it. You know, to think that I'm one way or the other because I listen to Rush Limbaugh is that's not a very intelligent way of looking at it. I can't listen to NPR. It makes me fall asleep. So I listen to news talk. The radio is. I've heard the songs on the radio so many times I can't listen to it anymore. I don't like programming my cell phone or having a computer out here that I have to worry about the battery dying. So I just turn the radio on and listen to someone talk. And it allows me to criticize him, and it allows me to think about stances. Doesn't mean I my brain is turning to mush because he's converting me or whatever. That's not the case at all. And I'm not suggesting that people start listening to Rush Limbaugh. I just need to have something to listen to when I'm working. So that's what I have on. There's no political, there's no other opposition to Rush Limbaugh on the radio to listen to. There's no left side. There's NPR, which is very educational and it's very good to listen to, and there's very nice stories. But I don't know when all the nice stories are going to be on. So to listen to it continuously, day in and day out, it makes me fall asleep. But occasionally, I hear there's going to be a good story on, and I'll turn it on. I especially like the science programs. Those are my favorite.
No way. Our inauguration plans, you should know, ladies and gentlemen, I have been begged.
So I'm only talking about this now because I'm doing this live TV a little bit, and I'm not going to turn off the radio hoping that I don't offend somebody, because it doesn't offend me when someone's listening to NPR or Oprah or Ellen DeGeneres show. None of that offends me. You know, I need something to listen to.
4 a.m., 6 minutes early, and yes, I'm getting overtime today. And at my rate, it's significant. 6 minutes overtime is huge. I demanded it, I got it. I demanded it because I can. And so we're starting at 11:54, and we will be covering the inaugural festivities, and there will be ongoing commentary added by me live as it happens. That will happen.
I watch CNN, I watch Fox News, I go back and forth. One station gets boring, I go to the other. Fridays I watch Gold Rush on Discovery Channel. You know, I'm in and out, working in my shop, going into the house. So, you know, I really hope I'm not turning people away because Rush Limbaugh is on.
That's what ABC, CBS, NBC will do.
Or any of these other people that talk. You know, if any of you know me and know that I'm a political science major, you should be happy to know that I am learning what the opposition thinks like. Because when you know what the opposition thinks like, then you can come up with your own angle. So, if there was any smart people out there, they would realize you should be listening to these people, because then you know what they're thinking. If you have a solid stance, a solid belief in what you believe in, no one like Rush Limbaugh should affect that. If you have your core beliefs that no one's going to change, then Rush Limbaugh is not going to change those things. And you can just learn from him. So, you know, I learned from him.
That's going to be the focus of coverage everywhere, not here. In fact, have you seen Mr. Sternly, have you seen the opinion polls? The Trump approval numbers during the transition, he's at a record low. Well, you should know, there's never been a more unpopular president-elect than Donald Trump. And we have it in 2 polls. We have it in a CNN poll. Yeah, we believe that. We have it in an ABC News, Washington Post poll. Yeah, we believe that. At 40%. The numbers are the President-elect Donald Trump's approval rating down to 40%. According to a new CNN poll, Trump's approval rating has dropped 6 points since Election Day, making it lower than that of the last 3 presidents. I mean, it's predictable. They got the pre-election polling wrong. Why should we believe any of this? You can if you want. I mean, you might want to come up with reasons to justify it. I just think it's funny. I think these efforts are just pathetic that the drive-bys and the Washington establishment are making to discredit and to disqualify Trump, to attempt to turn the nation against him even before he has been sworn in. Let's see, ABC News, Washington Post, what's amazing, the same exact number, 40%. 40% approve of Trump's performance as president-elect. A majority, 54%, have an unfavorable opinion of the incoming president, according to the Washington Post ABC News poll. So what we are to believe here, and this is, by the way, you can make book on this happening. This always happens every time Republicans win. What we're to believe here is that Donald Trump wins in nearly an electoral college landslide.
excited. Every poll on public attitudes about the future are way up. Small business, individuals, you name it, everybody's excited about the future. People's attitudes have shifted to the much more positive. And yet in the midst of all of this, we get two polls attempting to tell us that there's now massive regret on the part of people who voted for Trump. Yeah, all these people stayed loyal to Trump for a year. He made his announcement, actually a year and a half. He makes his announcement in June of 2015. And then the campaign goes to the end of that year and all through 2016. And Donald Trump smokes it. Donald Trump schlongs everybody, just goes out there and takes on all comers. His popularity ratchets up. His popularity increases. His rallies are populated by increasingly large numbers of people. People drive for 4 hours to attend a Trump rally. People stand in line outside. Trump gets elected, and in just 8 weeks, those same people now...
Thanks, Katie.
In just 8
This is new, this live camera stuff, so
Trump has had a massive defection.
I'm just learning it. You know, first you don't even know exactly how well people hear you, or
Polls were taken in New York and California.
or who's watching or what.
The Democrats
You see the little thing on here saying there's 5 people watching now. Yeah, thanks, Desmond. So so I'm just learning here how this
Here's a drive-by media montage.
new live TV works.
Reporting of how poorly Trump is doing and how much support that he has lost.
I'm glad to hear that some people like it.
See the story, the narrative, the American people are slowly beginning to realize they made a big mistake. Now this is, as far as the drive-by is concerned, this is key, folks, because you lay that foundation.
I believe that the whole
Voters realize they might have made a mistake.
social media is going to go to the live
On the Democrats.
format somehow. I'm not sure exactly how. Video anyway.
It's intended here
But
to
so I think
establish the credibility
that's what I've always believed, but I'm not sure exactly how.
impressions on the part
This is
of Democrats.
probably the start of it.
Tried to warn everybody about Trump. They tried, but you didn't.
I know I tried doing live TV about a year ago, and it really wasn't working very well yet. The connection wasn't fast. It just didn't seem to be useful. So now it looks like it's more useful, more
And the people who have been repudiated and decimated, the objective here,
more stable.
the American people wish they had.
So I'll keep doing it, and thanks for watching.
Wish the Russians hadn't cheated for Trump, and they wish
I'll be back later, I'm sure.
that's going to be what this all leads up to. Here is the media montage.
And I'll like all you guys as soon as I can't like everyone's.
This is the media montage. Drive-bys
I'm liking everyone right now.
inaugurated lowest approval rating ever.
The president-elect has the lowest approval rating of any incoming president.
Donald Trump with an historic low approval rating heading into the White House.
All right. So live TV is definitely cool. So
Historically low approval rating.
I'll keep doing it. All right. Talk to you guys later.
Most